Okay, everybody has been emailed their quad from me. I took a photo and it is in grayscale. So we need to change it into a black and white, and we're going to do that in Photoshop. So I have my quad right now as a JPEG in my CG1 folder. So I'm downloading that. And then I go to my downloads folder and I'm going to drag that onto Photoshop. So when I took the picture, it might have been a little bit crooked. You can see how this is like got more white here and here than it does down here. This is not perfectly straight. So what I'm going to do is I am going to straighten it out. So right now I'm going to go to the move tool. And I need to make sure that it is not a flat image. So right now it's a JPEG, so I can't do anything with it. I need to make the background unlock. So you just double click and just say, okay, you can leave it at layer 0. Because it's going to change back to background after I make the changes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a line here. And I'm going to put a line here. So if you need rulers, you do Command R. Command R turns them on and off. To get the guidelines, you just press and hold and drag a line out. So I'm going to put that across the top right here where I want my art to be. And I don't need this one. And I'm going to put one here. And what I want to try to do is get this lined up with these two lines. I'm going to put another one over here. It really doesn't matter too much. Just find the corners and then align it with the guidelines. Okay, it should be close enough proportion. So now what I want to do is I want to go to File. Oops, sorry. Edit, Transform, Distort. Okay, so right now it is, oops, I need to have this tool. Edit, Transform, Distort. So now when I grab one of these handles, it's going to distort it. I can do all this crazy stuff with it. Okay, so I'm going to put the corner of my art in the corner where the blue lines are. I'm going to grab this corner and put that in there. So sometimes when you do that, it moves other ones. So you might have to do it more than once. This is hard to tell, but I'm going to kind of get this lined up straight with that. And then I'm going to pull this one so that the art is about right there. And I double click. Now I'm going to go to View, Guides, Clear Guides. And now I'm going to crop it. So I'm using the crop tool. I'm going to grab that and I'm going to cover up maybe some of the lines. I'm going to crop it so that it's cutting off whatever I don't want on there. And I'm pulling that so that it's cutting off. See how it has those lines hanging over the edge? Remember I told you to go past the edge of your margin? Just cut those off, double click, and look, now it's nice and clean on the edges and all the lines bleed off of the edge of the paper. And now I think I'm going to make this a little bit closer in. I want to cover this line. Okay, so now I'm going to change this to pure black and white. So right now, when I zoom in, you can see that some of it's darker and some of it's lighter gray. And this is not white. It's gray and it's got a lot of little pixely things all over it. You see how it's not pure black and white? It's just gray. And we want to make it pure black and white. So I'm going to leave it zoomed in so you can see what it looks like when we change it. I'm going to go to Image Mode, and I'm going to change it from RGB color, because right now it's color, even though it looks grayscale. And I'm going to change it to grayscale. Eventually, I want to go to bitmap, but I have to stop at grayscale in between. It's just the way that Photoshop is. So it's grayscale, then I go Image Mode, Bitmap. Now I want this to be pure black and white. I'm going to flatten layers and notice that it's going to change this back to calling it background. I'm choosing 150 pixels per inch. And I'm using the 100 or the 50% threshold. There's other choices. 50% threshold takes everything that's light and turns it white, and everything that's dark turns it black. So if it's dark gray, it's going to become black. And if it's light gray, it's going to become white. So watch what happens. So it's wiped out all those in betweens and it's pushed it to be pure black and white. So sometimes when that happens, if it gets a little messy, especially if there's any pencil marks or dirt, it's going to get some kind of junk on it and you have to clean it off. So this one's not too bad. It's not too messy. It's got a couple of places where the lines don't connect, and it's got a couple of places that need to be cleaned up, like over here. So I'm going to use the paintbrush to color the black. And so when you change tools, this bar right across here is the information bar, and the information for the tools changes every time you change tools. So watch what happens when I click the eraser. It's different things. When I click the move tool, it's different things. The marquee tool, different things. Okay. So the paintbrush gives me information, and I am going to choose 6 pixels, hardness 100%, a round brush, a hard round brush. Okay. So that is the right size that's close to my pen. So if I draw on here, whoops, that's white. I'm going to click on here and make it black. So to change your colors, this is the foreground color, and this is the square that you're going to click on to choose the color for the paintbrush and the bucket. And when you click on the background color, it's going to be the color that happens when you erase. So the background color is all white all the way to that corner, and you click on the foreground color, and that should be all black. Okay, so now I have my paintbrush, I have it set to black, and I can draw, look, I can draw anything I want. And it's close to the same size as my Sharpie. If you need to make it up or down a pixel or so, you can, no worries. It doesn't have to be 6. And this isn't exactly the right size. So what I want to do with the paintbrush is I want to touch up any broken lines, because remember, if I want to fill in, for example, this area, and I want to color this red, green, red, if I drop color in either side of here, it's going to spill underneath this. So you need to know this, because sometime you're going to drop some color in and you're going to go, why did it do all that? That's why. So you have to use the paintbrush to touch it up. So you can freehand with the paintbrush, but you can also, so you can add some things in if you want to, or you can do straight lines that connect dot to dot. So check this out. If I click one in one place, I'm going to click up here. I'm going to make another line like this, one of these zigzag lines. I'm going to click. Then if I press shift and I don't let go of the shift key, every time I click, it's going to follow that line. And when I let go, then I can start a new line. So I have to let go of the shift key to do that. That also works with the eraser. So if I use the eraser, I can click here, press shift, and I can click, 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 click to kind of clean up my line. Or I can freehand it and I can just do this. Okay. So here's a little dot. Here's a little, this is a little thick here. So I might zoom in and go in and just take a little bit of it out and get that little piece. You're going to go in and you're going to clean up places where you overshot your lines. And like this got a little blob here. It doesn't look like this, but I think it should, right? It looks like it should be this leaf shape. So I'm going to zoom in and I'm just going to go like this. And then if you zoom in, the eraser stays the same size. So you can add details to it if you need to. Like you can get and refine things if you zoom way in. So the eraser stays the same size. See, it's if I make my whole art this big, my eraser is going to erase half of the artwork, right? But if I zoom way in, I can fix this little circle and give it a center. Okay, so it's nice to have that ability. That's why I like the block eraser for this. So I want you to clean up everything using the eraser tool in the pure black and white mode. Okay, let's see. I'm not going to get to everything, but I'll get as much as I can done. So I noticed another hole in here somewhere. Where was it? I think over here. So remember, if it's even 1 pixel wide, there's a tiny hole right here. Look at it. If I color over here, it's going to spill right through. So I'm going to get my paintbrush and I'm just going to touch that up and block that line. So any little bits that you need to clean up, you're just going to clean up. Okay. Okay. Now, so, oh, this is pretty thick looking. That looks kind of yucky. So you want to, it's going to probably take you 1 or 2 class periods, depending on how much dirt you have on your piece. So I'm using the eraser to do that same dot to dot cleanup to clean up. Okay. Once you have it all cleaned up, and you want to make sure that you have everything, because I discovered when I was demoing before, I discovered that little break in here, and then I had to add it in. And when you add it in after it's not pure black and white, it actually creates a fuzzy edge that makes it a little bit weird when you color it. So it's best to make sure everything is gone, everything, all of the little mess up parts. They're just little things that you're going to clean up, right? All those things are cleaned up before you save it to a color. Okay, so right now it's still image mode, it's still bitmap. I need to change this first to a grayscale, then to RGB color. So image mode grayscale. It's going to give you this. Just say okay, size ratio 1. And then go image mode RGB color. Okay. Now I can color, except I don't want you to color on this. Nobody should be coloring on the background. If I come around and see no other layers and you're coloring on the background, you're going to have to undo everything and start completely over. Okay, so don't do that. Everybody needs to make 3 new layers. So your layers menu is one of the most important menus in Photoshop. You're always going to have it open because you're going to use it for so many different skills and techniques, and it's a really important part of Photoshop. So right now, it is now a color, and now I'm going to make 3 more layers so I can color it in 3 different ways. In order to make a duplicate layer, you click on the mini drop down, which is right here, and you duplicate layer. Or you can click on layer up in the menus and duplicate layer. Or you can right click on the background, duplicate layer. Okay. The first new layer you're going to make, or that you've duplicated, so they're all going to be exactly the same because you need this line work to be on all of the layers. If you make a new layer, watch what happens if I make a new layer. If I make a new layer, it is transparent and there's nothing on it. So I can't work with that. There are times you will make a new layer, but for this assignment, you won't. You're going to duplicate. So you're going to right click, duplicate layer, if that's how you're going to do it. Call it my choice. This is the layer that you're going to color however you like. I'm going to give you some tips about coloring that I hope that you'll adhere to. But I want you to, you're going to do 3 different things. And my choice is the first one you're going to do, and you can pick whatever colors that you like. You're going to right click on that, duplicate the layer again, call it color theory. And I will talk to you more about that later. And you're also going to duplicate the layer one more time and call it texture. So now you have 3 layers here. When you're working on a specific layer, you need to make sure you're on the right layer. Watch what happens if I try to color on my choice. I'm going to pick a color from the color picker. So I can choose the range or the hue from here, and then I can choose the value from in here. Okay, so I got red. I'm going to use that paint bucket, and I'm going to color my choice. Yay, what? Mrs. Keneally, nothing's happening. But look, I see some red on my choice layer, but the reason I can't see it is because I haven't hidden these. So I have to hide texture and hide color theory. So these layers are like pieces of paper. There's 4 pieces of paper here. There's one on the bottom, there's one on the up next, and this is the top piece of paper. So when you're working on a layer, you should hide all these others and make sure that it's highlighted. So if I highlight color theory, it's going to give me the circle slash. I can't color anything because I'm on the wrong layer. Okay, so I want to be on my choice. So a little bit about coloring. When you're coloring, you should think about unity. So unity is basically the repetition of different elements to make it look like it all belongs together. So to unify a piece, if you have a lot of different, look, there's a lot of little circles on here. They're here, they're here, they're over here, they're over here. That's unifying the design. There's zigzags right here. So there's line quality, zigzags, and then there's more zigzaggy type lines over here and some sharp angles that are like a zigzag over here and here. So that's unified by the line. So we got unified by the circles for shape. We got line quality, zigzags, and curves that repeat in different places, curves and curves. We also can unify with color. So you want to kind of spread the color around in some different places. So, you know, kind of even it out around the piece. Maybe put it in a couple of places. And have it sort of spread in different places. And then go ahead and pick another color. And when you are doing something like stripes, you shouldn't just go like this. So you don't want to color everything all the same. Okay. So when you have stripes like this, you should take advantage of that and maybe alternate or make like an increase in color, like a rainbow color or something else. But you shouldn't just color it all the same. Okay. I could do this one like that. And then when they join up, it will be unified in that way. So maybe I'll do this one like that also. Okay. And then let's see, I'll do this and this to get that blue spread around in some different places. Okay, so now see how it's kind of bringing it together? It's like, it looks like I did this on purpose. And I might add a little bit of that blue in some of this places too, maybe this checkerboard guy. So when you do a checkerboard, if you have something like this, you could do a checkerboard pattern. Don't just fill it all in with the same color. I'm not sure why students do that. It's kind of laziness. It's like not that hard to just move your mouse over here and click and pick another color, right? It's not hard. So if you want to do black, let me just tell you a little thing about how the paint bucket works. When you click on a color, it hits the color and it stops wherever it changes to another color. So with these black lines, it's locking the color into different areas. If I accidentally click on the line, look what happens. It colors all the lines that are connected to that line. If that happens, immediately Command Z. Okay. If you want to use black, because it marries things to the line, if I use black to color this, if I want to change color, what's going to happen? Oh, by the way, you can pick a color. Like if I used another color and I want to get that color again, I just press the Option key and I can get the eyedropper. And if I click on that color, it automatically puts that color back in the color picker. So, but watch what happens if I decide I want to make this red. Because those black squares were joined to the line, it's going to color all the lines. So don't use black because that's what'll happen. If you absolutely want to use black, and I would use it very sparingly, it should be the very last thing you do after you're sure everything is perfect. Okay. If you want to use a black light color, you could use a very dark gray and achieve a very similar effect. So this is kind of blackish. And when it prints, it'll look pretty dark and it'll give you that same sort of feeling. Okay. So I usually use dark gray for things that would be normally black, and I'm leaving all my lines black. If you want your lines to be a color, you can make another copy of your file and change it to another color. But for all of your assignments, I want you to leave the lines black. You may change, you can do any art you want in this class, as long as you do everything I want you to do first, so that I know that you understand how things work and how things are done. And if you want to make another file, you could duplicate another layer and you can do anything you want other than the things I've asked you to do. But for each of these different things, I'm teaching you specific things. So I want you to show me that you understand. So once you're done, actually, before you even color anything, you're going to turn in, the first assignment will be your artwork in the window in pure black and white. You're going to take a screenshot that shows, oh, we didn't do it yet. I don't want that one. You're going to take a screenshot after you change this and save it as a Photoshop file. Right now, I've just done all these things to my original file, and I really probably should have saved it as a Photoshop file a lot sooner. You should save it as a Photoshop file as soon as you have your 3 layers made. File, save as. When you save a copy, it saves the copy into wherever you tell it to go, but it leaves the original open. So if I save a copy, this is going to stay open. But if I do file, save as, it's going to leave the file that I just was working on as if I never did anything to it. And it's going to save the new file, and that's what's going to be open. So watch what happens. Right now, this is the original JPEG quad that everybody got emailed. But when I do file, save as, I'm going to use our standard naming convention, 8, last name, first initial, quad. This is the file that you'll be working with. You'll be taking it out of your CG1 folder, working on it, and putting it back every day. Okay, so right now I am saving the file. It's a Photoshop file. Make sure it's Photoshop and save. And click OK. So now I have saved it as a Photoshop file. It's pure black and white. I've cleaned it up. And I have my 4 layers, the original background, my choice, color theory, and texture. You're going to take a screenshot, Command-Shift-4, showing the name. So clicking it, dragging it from there all the way over to the layers so I can see that you've done all of those things. And that's going to be the first turn in. The second turn in will be your my choice completely colored. The third will be your color theory. And the fourth will be texture with all of the files in your portfolio and the reflection. Okay. So this is going to take several weeks. Okay. It shouldn't take you more than 2 class periods to color theory and my choice. Don't color theory yet, because I'm going to teach you things about that first, and same with texture. But your my choice, you can start as soon as you have everything set up. Okay. I hope you have fun.